Hello, good evening. I hope everyone can hear me and see me clearly. All right, great. Thank you, Shruti. Hello, everyone. So happy to be here finally, starting with my classes. I'm very excited to start this journey with you all. And I hope you guys are too. Ready to learn some macroeconomics. All right. So before I immediately start, I want to say that, yes, thank you. So I want to say that, so initially in these classes, we are going to focus on IIT focused material. So we are going to do things more up to the level of IIT. Okay, so we won't finish everything, right? Everyone understood? So everything we will not finish. We will only finish up till the IIT level. So a lot of the difficult, a little extra difficult questions of ISI and DSE, we don't need to do. Okay, so we'll cover the syllabus required up till IIT level. And after that, we will go to the ISI DSE level post IIT. All right. Okay, great. All right. So before I start my lecture today, I would like to ask you guys that, this is the first macroeconomics lecture. So can you tell me one major world event that happened last week? Put it in the chat box. One major world event that happened last week. What comes to your mind? Radha says UK PM change, UK Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, right? That was the big news, especially for us Indians. And what triggered his accession as the Prime Minister of Britain? What triggered it? What triggered? Economics, right? Didn't economic crisis trigger it? Or let's say the bad economic policy followed within just a span of a few weeks by his predecessor, Liz Truss. So she presented her mini budget, the markets crashed, the Bank of England had to intervene. She cut taxes. Yes, she cut taxes at a wrong time. And that led to the downfall of a whole government. So imagine how big macroeconomics is. And right now here you are learning it, right? So it's very important to understand macroeconomics, and it's very important to understand how and when to use which policy. Okay. So today we are going to start with the Keynesian policy. Okay. So there are many models. Okay. There are many modes of thought. Keynesian was the one which is the most prominent right now. These days, not right now, but post Great Depression, right? So in the Great Depression, what had happened? There was output had fallen, employment had fallen, incomes were falling, and the economists at that time had no answer. So now you know that bad economic situation leads to fallen governments. So governments have to think what to do. And that time, the birth of Keynesian macroeconomics, again in the form of a British economist, John Maynard Keynes, came in, and it changed the way people thought about economics. He presented new assumptions, new policies. Okay, so today we are going to start with Keynesian macroeconomic policies. Okay, now before I start with Keynesian macroeconomic policies, I'll just take 1 minute to tell you a little bit about the foundation of. I'll take a minute to tell you the foundation of Keynesian macroeconomics. Okay. Now, Keynesian macroeconomics differed from his predecessor, which was classical. So, pre-Keynesian economics, there was classical economics. Everybody knows this? Raise your hands. Everybody knows classical economics, Keynesian economics. So, there are major differences. Can people tell me major differences? What are the major differences? There is music playing. 1 second. Oh, I'm so sorry. Oh my God, so sorry about that. Is that okay now? Thank you for telling me. I didn't know that it was still playing. Yes. So getting back to work, there is classical and Keynesian. I'm going to teach you classical today, Keynesian today. Classical we'll do another time. Now, what was the difference between the two major differences? So Nandana says there was no need of government intervention in classical. So classical, no government intervention required. Classical said intervention. Classical said the economy can take care of itself. Government not required. Good, Nandana. Invisible hand. Yes, Tarishi. Invisible hand. Free market. Laissez-faire. Okay, money no role. Correct. So all this was classical, right? Free market, invisible hand. What about prices? What did the classical economists say about prices? Flexible, absolutely. What was flexible? Prices. What is the meaning of prices flexible? What else is flexible? Wages flexible. So prices and wages flexible, meaning, what does it mean? It means that classicals actually said, and they assumed when they made their model, classical economists said that people don't mind taking any wage rate as long as they are employed. They said people want employment. If the market situation is bad, people are willing to take a wage cut, right? That's what the classical economists assumed. Is that true or not? Is that true? Are you willing? So let's say you as a person, it's a very bad economy. Okay, recession, there's a recession going on. Will you work for a very less price? Are you willing to put in your hard work for, let's say today as a fresher, you don't go to do any masters. You are maybe as just a bachelor in economics, maybe you'll get a salary of 20, 25, 30,000. Okay, somebody tells you bad economy, I can't give you so much. You have to agree in 10,000, 5,000. Will you agree? Will you want to work? No. You may want to then upgrade your skill set. You may want to do something else, but not work in such a low price. So that was one of the things that Keynes challenged. What did Keynes say? What did he say about prices? Anyone? What did Keynes say about prices? And wages? Sticky. And sticky in what direction? Downward direction. So how was the sticky downward? He said that people don't accept a lower wage. They will accept a higher wage, but not lower. They will not so easily accept a lower wage, right? Prices are not as flexible, right? When you go to a restaurant, if it's a bad economy, people don't want to change the prices of those menus. They don't change that often. Okay, so people don't want to sell their goods at a cheaper price. Okay, so wages and prices are sticky downward. Upward they can rise. So he challenged this. Okay, he challenged this. He challenged everything. He said, no, government intervention. Without government intervention, economy will be in a recession for a longer period of time. For example, when we had the 2008 crisis, so when Lehman Brothers fell, everybody knows this because of the housing market in the US overheating, right? There was a recession throughout the world. Okay, that time governments knew what to do. They were prepared. They did not sit and wait for things to take care of themselves. They knew what to do. What was required was government intervention. Like today in Britain, it's a bad situation. They have very high inflation. They have very high debt. There's a war going on. They don't have enough energy for their coming winter months. There's a lot of bad things happening around Britain, right? So are they going to sit and wait for things to become better? No. They are looking for active government intervention to make the painful times shorter. right? So there are many differences between Keynesian and classical. Classical was more of a supply-sided economics. Keynesian is more of a demand-sided economics. Keynesian believes in excess capacity and so on. So there are lots of things I'll go about in detail later on. Okay. Today, I'm just sharing with you what are we talking about. We're talking about economic policies. We're talking about economic thoughts. So here today, I'm going to do Keynesian policies with you. And Keynesian macroeconomics primarily focuses on government intervention to solve economic problems, keeping prices and wages as, let's say, steady or sticky. All right, everyone? Okay. So let's start, and we're good to go. Okay, so little bit clarity on what we are doing. Okay. All right, now let me start. All right. All right, so let me start. Everyone, can you see my screen? Can you see my PPT? Visible to everyone? All right, okay. So let us start. So this is Keynesian macroeconomics, and that's the first topic that we are doing. That's SKM. Okay, so this is the photo of John Maynard Keynes. So Keynesian vision, so we're going to start with a circular flow framework in which income and expenditure are brought together by the level of employment. And from that, we are going to derive something called the Keynesian cross, which is the topic for today's class. All right. So SKM and Keynesian cross are the same thing. Okay. Yes, recording is not on. Thank you. For such a long time I'm taking a class, I've forgotten. I have to switch on the recording also. Okay. Let's go. So today we are doing the simple Keynesian model. We're just starting with the simple Keynesian model. We'll finish in simple Keynesian model in 4 or 5 classes. Today is the first class, so we're not going to do the whole model. We're just starting about it. So today I want you to just listen to the basics. Okay, this is the basics that I will be doing of the simple Keynesian model. It's also called the Keynesian cross. Okay, so the starting point. The starting point of this is the circular flow framework. Okay, so there's a circular flow in the economy. What is the circular flow? Let's see. So on one side are businesses. Okay, now businesses are also called firms. Okay, so on one side they are firms. On the other side, they are workers. Okay, workers, factor owners or consumers. Okay, let's call this the households. Okay, HH stands for households. So there's workers on one side, households, and there are firms on the other side. Okay, what happens? So workers supply goods and services to firms, correct? Workers supply labor services to firms. These are called factor services. Okay, workers are supplying factor services to firms. They're going and working in these firms. And then what do firms give in return? They give them wages and salaries, income, right? So services going from households to firms and money going from firms to households. So this is their income. This is the income for the households. And then what happens from this income? What do workers do with this income? They spend on goods and services of the firms itself. Okay. And they pay for these goods and services from their income in terms of expense. So this is how goods, services, and money rotates in an economy. So this is the circular flow of income. Okay. Now the speed of this rotation. Okay. Now look at this. This is goods and services and money going from one sector to the other. Okay. Very fast means economy is growing very fast. Business is happening. Okay. Product is being produced. It is being sold. Person is looking for a job. He finds it. Okay. Very good economy. Very slow economy. Okay. Slowly. If you look for a job, you may find it. A product is produced. It finds a buyer in a while. Okay. So slow economy, fast economy. Okay. So fast is a strong economy. Slow is a weak economy. So in Keynesian macroeconomics, the starting point is that income is equal to expenditure. What you earn is what you spend. Okay. In totality, they are equal. Y is equal to E. Okay. So that's the starting point. You must remember that in Keynesian equilibrium. Okay. This is the Keynesian equilibrium. Income is equal to expenditure. You can only spend what you earn, right? All right. So what is the expenditure? Okay. Income is equal to expenditure. What are the expenditures? Now, if a economy is private meaning no government sector, no foreign sector. Okay. So only two sectors. What are the two sectors? So two sectors only. One second. So two. So only a two-sector economy. What are the two sector? Firms and households. Only two sectors. So that's called a private economy. So in a private economy, when income is equal to expenditure, what are the types of expenditures? So there are two types of expenditures. Households. So the first sector, households, spends on goods, to buy goods, to use them. Okay. So when households spends money to buy goods, it's called consumption expenditure. C. Okay. So the first sector, households, their expenditure is consumption. We basically spend all our money to buy things. Correct. The second sector, which is firms, they spend most of their money on investment. That's their expense. That's their expenditure. Okay. Whether that expense could be in buying raw material, it could be in buying machine, it could be in buying land. So their expense is investment. So for the private economy, expenditure is consumption and investment. So in Keynes, equilibrium is when income is equal to consumption and investment. Is this point clear? All right. So in the Keynesian equilibrium, so let's this is what you have to remember. In the Keynesian equilibrium occurs when income is equal to consumption and investment when the economy is private. Okay, I will add the other sectors in subsequent slides. All right, let's move. Okay, so here we are now. Okay, so we had the circular flow of income where income was equal to expenditure. Okay, now we have to depict this in a 2D graph. Okay, boring 2D graphs like we have always done. Okay, so we'll depict this circular flow of income in a 2D graph. So how do we do it? So expenditure, it constitutes the left half of the circular flow. This is represented on the vertical axis. Okay, so expenditure is on the vertical axis in the 2D graph diagram. Income is on the horizontal axis. Okay, so two sides represented on two parts of the graph. All right, after that, the circular flow suggests that they must be equal. How do you show this and this to be equal? These must be equal, right? So how do you make them equal? You make them equal by a 45-degree line passing through the origin, right? So along this line, this is the line which basically cuts this graph into half. Okay, it cuts this graph into half. Along this line, one point here matches with 1 point here. So if let's say income is 100, expenditure is also 100. If income is 200, then expenditure is also 200. So 45-degree line basically shows this equality between income and expenditure. E is equal to Y is shown through this line. Okay. All right. So in this economy, equilibrium can only be along this line, because only along this line, E is equal to Y. All right. Okay. So E is equal to Y, we've already established. So E is equal to Y is where equilibrium would be. Our equilibrium can only lie along this E is equal to Y line. Okay. So now expenditure was equal to C plus Y. C plus I for a wholly private economy. Correct? Okay. So now we have to understand C and I also. We have to draw C and I. So first we'll understand the consumption function C. Okay. So let's understand C, consumption. Now, consumption, according to Keynes, is very stable. Okay, there are different ways to define consumption. The Keynesian way is to say that consumption is very stable. People like to spend a fixed part of their income. Okay, that is why he calls it a stable function. Okay, let's see. So people like to spend a fixed part of their income. What is that fixed part? This is the consumption function. I will take you through this. Okay. So this is basically, this is a linear straight line. Okay. So this is the intercept. This is the slope. All right. So A is the intercept and B is the slope. Okay. So the consumption function is a linear line represented by A as the intercept and B as the slope. Okay. I'll just talk about what these are. Investment, on the other hand, is it's constant in the Keynesian function. Okay, I'll explain both, but I'm just introducing them. Investment in the Keynesian function is constant. Why? Because investment, according to Keynes, is defined by something called animal spirits. He says that when people think economy is good, they invest in everything, and people buy everything, just like the housing bubble. कि house के prices तो ऊपर ही जाते हैं. The price of houses will only go up. Let's buy. Whatever is the kind of house, whatever locality, whatever construction, let's just buy. So investment is driven by animal spirits. Okay. If you feel it's a good economy, you feel everything will do well. That's what investment is based on. That's what Keynes assumed in the beginning. Later on, it changed. But in the beginning, we are just going to take investment constant, because investment was based on the expectation of profit or the business environment, which is very unstable. Okay. So investment, Keynes said, is not dependent on income, not on rate of interest, nothing. only on profit expectations which are not real or which you cannot really define it properly. Okay, so it is a very unstable function. Investment is defined, is very governed by animal spirits according to Keynes. Okay, so consumption is stable. Sorry, consumption is stable, investment unstable. Okay, so that's why Keynes called consumption stable, investment unstable. So Keynes called upon the government that you need to stabilize this. Consumption is very stable on its own. Investment is unstable on its own. So now you need the government to make this whole situation stable. That was the thinking that Keynes, with which Keynes came about. Okay, so income, consumption, investment. And now we're going to understand the consumption function. So this is the consumption function that we are now going to understand first. Okay, as I said, now consumption function has two parts. It's a linear function, okay, with the intercept as A. Now, what is the intercept of A meaning? Let's write this consumption function. C is equal to A plus BY. Okay, so what is this intercept of A meaning? So C is equal to A plus BY. So first is the intercept A. Why do we have this? Because it allows for people to have some consumption even when income is zero. So even if Y is equal to 0, consumption is equal to A. Okay, so this is the first part of the consumption function. It is the autonomous part of consumption, independent of income. It is independent of income. Okay, so that's the first part. The second part is B. This. Now, what is this? This is the slope. What is the meaning of the slope? Everybody knows the meaning of the slope. What is the meaning of the slope? The slope means that change in consumption by change in income is equal to B, or change in consumption is equal to B times change in income. Or if income is changing by 100, consumption will change by B times 100. Okay, if income is changing by 100, consumption will change by B times 100. Let's say B is equal to half. So then consumption will change by 50. So what do we have? If change in income is 100, change in consumption is 50. So what is B? It is change in consumption by change in income, which is half. So B is called marginal propensity to consume. What is B called? Let's write this again. B is called marginal propensity to consume. Okay, that is what B is called, right? It is the change. So this is the economic word, marginal propensity to consume. Okay, sounds very long. It is nothing but that how much will my consumption change if my income changes by 1 unit? It changes by half. If my income changes by 1 unit, my consumption will change by half a unit. Okay, that's what it tells you. Agar aaj aapka salary is 50,000 rupees, if it increases by 20,000, so let's say 50,000 se salary became 70,000, 20,000 ka change hai. So how much of this 20,000 will you spend on consumption? You will spend half of it. So 10,000 you will spend on consumption, 10,000 you will probably save. That is the meaning of marginal propensity to consume. Okay, so B is that, right? Now obviously B marginal propensity to consume lies between 0 and 1. Right? It can't be more than 1. It can't be less than 0. Right? It lies between 0 and 1. Okay. So this is marginal propensity to consume. All right. Okay. So if this is the consumption function, and if so consumption function is now then, how do we draw consumption function? It is a upward sloping line with an intercept of A and a slope of B. Okay, so it is an upward sloping line with an intercept of A and a slope of B. So if you can see this line, this is the consumption line where the intercept is given by A and the slope is given by B. Okay, so we'll now do later, if the slope increases, what happens? If the slope decreases, what happens? What happens if people start consuming more and if B goes up? What happens if people start consuming less and B comes down? Okay, so we'll do that. So the slope is given by B and the intercept is given by A. So this is the consumption function. It is an upward sloping line with a slope less than 1. Okay. Now, to the consumption function, if I have to add investment, investment is just the intercept, right? What is investment? Investment is I bar. Okay, it is constant, right? So when a constant part is added to the consumption function, okay, I bar is added. So how will we write it? Consumption. Okay, let's write it like this. Consumption is equal to A plus BY. Consumption plus investment is A plus I bar plus BY. Okay. Now A plus I bar are both called autonomous components because they are not dependent on income. Why are they called autonomous components? Because they are not dependent on income. And B is called the endogenous component because it is dependent on income. Okay. Right. So A plus I bar become the autonomous components when it is dependent, not dependent on income. B becomes the endogenous component. It is dependent on income. Okay. Now the autonomous component give you the intercept. So A plus I bar is the intercept. The endogenous components give you the slope. So this is the slope. So for the whole function C plus I, which is equal to expenditure, the intercept is A plus I bar, the slope is B, and this is that function. Right? All right. Is everybody clear till here? How did I draw C is equal to A plus BY? How did I draw E is equal to C plus I? Is this clear to everyone? Tarashi, it is okay? Satvisha, Nirvani, everybody clear? Okay. So this is how you draw the diagram. All right. Okay. Now the equilibrium is where y is equal to E. This is the line y is equal to E, where it intersects with my E is equal to C plus I line. Okay, so where my y is equal to E line intersects with my E is equal to C plus I line, that is my equilibrium level of income. Okay, this point. This is the equilibrium level of income and equal amount of expenditure is there. Okay, so at equilibrium, what do I have? At equilibrium, I have y is equal to E, E is equal to C plus I. So at equilibrium, y is equal to C plus I. Okay. Everyone just give me a minute, please. All right. Let's go, everyone. Thank you. Okay, so same thing, y is equal to E is equal to C plus I. This is the same thing that I wrote. Okay, now we have to do this example. All right. So now let's do an example. Just 1 second. So I'll do an example on the whiteboard. Okay, so now we'll do an example of what we just did. So y is equal to E in the Keynesian framework. Okay, E is equal to C plus I. All right. Now what is C plus I equal to? So E is equal to C is A plus BY and I is I bar. Okay. So that means at equilibrium, what do we have? We have y is equal to A plus BY plus I bar. So this is at equilibrium. Okay. So at equilibrium, we can solve for this. That means y is equal to A plus I bar plus by. We can combine the y and the y's together. So y minus by is equal to A plus I bar. Okay, so this is 1 minus b into y is equal to A plus I bar. So that means y star, and here only we can add the star because this is equilibrium. Okay, so this is equilibrium. This is the star. A plus I bar upon 1 minus b is equilibrium y star. Okay, we can put in some numbers also. So for example, if my, let's do it on a new page. So y star is equal to A plus I bar upon 1 minus b. Okay, so if A is, let's say, 200, investment is 500 and b is half. So what is the equilibrium level of income? It is 200 plus 500 upon 1 minus half. Okay, so this is equal to 200 plus 500 upon half. So this is 700 into 2. So this is 1400. So equilibrium level of income is 1400, that means. Right? Okay, I'm going to go back on the slide. People like the PPT. All right. So in this also we have an example. If in A is 2000, B is 7.75 and so on. So I'd work that example out. Okay. So all right. Now I'm going to talk about something that I usually don't talk about because it's not so obvious. Okay. But just to complete the story. Now, the thing is that when I talk about macroeconomics, okay, there are certain parameters, okay, which are very important. We've talked about consumption. What is the consumption in the economy? It's very important. What is the investment in the economy? Very important. What is the income level, right? We've just talked about these till now, but there are others. What is the level of prices? What is the level of wages? What is the level of savings? What is the level of interest rate? What is the level of exchange rate? So many things we still haven't talked about. Okay, in the Keynesian cross, all that is not required. But just to complete the picture of Keynesian economics, because this is one equilibrium, right? This is one in which you will do some questions. So just to tell you that what about the other things? Okay. So the first thing is that in the Keynesian cross, okay, this point, which is the equilibrium income level, okay, this is reached completely by accident in an economy which is private. Okay, if the economy was not private and we had a government sector also, then it would be the role of the government to bring this income level. So this is an income level here, right? Bring this income to the full employment level. It would be the role of the government. Okay, but without government, this income level to be full employment level is just by accident. There is nothing to bring this to the full employment level. Okay, so right now Keynes is assuming, or initially assumes, that economy is starting with full employment. Okay, so that's the first, that is the assumption, that initially everything is very good. You are starting with full employment. Okay, you're starting with full employment. If you're starting with full employment, then we can draw a PPF, a production possibility frontier for consumption and investment. And you are on one point where this is the level of consumption. And this is the level of consumption, this is the level of investment, and you're at one point in the PPF. Okay, so initially Keynes assumes that you accidentally reach the full employment level. So that's the first thing I wanted to say. The second thing is that what about wages and prices in this economy? Now, wages and prices are sticky, they are fixed. Okay, I already discussed that in Keynesian macroeconomics, wages and prices are sticky, but they are sticky at what level, right? So there are certain wages which prevail in the economy. Again, you are assuming that those wages are good level of wages. They are the level of wages where if the economy was at full employment, that is the level of wages that would be. So you're assuming that naturally that's the level at wages what are there. So wages are sticky and assuming they are at the full employment level. Okay. In Keynesian macroeconomics, full employment implies that the labor market is clearing. The wage rate which is emerged is the good wage rate which is there. Okay. So this is the full employment level. Okay, this is the point where income is equal to expenditure, and this is at the full employment level. That's an assumption. Okay, so this income is generating a level of employment which is full and a level of wage rate which is also the full employment level real wage rate. All right, so this is an assumption. All right, so we've already talked about all this. Now, what happens in case these animal spirits or consumption falls? Okay, what happens then? If sorry, not consumption, investment. In case investment falls, what happens? This investment, the consumption function will not change, but the investment function will fall. So the intercept will fall. It will come down. Okay. Consumption is the same. Investment has fallen. So what will happen to income? Income will fall. How will income fall? What will happen is initially, so this is how the economy moves. Okay. Again, everyone, this is very theoretical. I'm sure some of you must be feeling कि मैम questions कराओ, ये बहुत theoretical है. One reason जब ये मैं why am I doing this is because IIT theoretical है. अगर आप macro के paper देखोगे, if you see the macro questions, they are conceptual. Okay, so you need to understand the theory very well for macroeconomics. Questions so we'll do. Second class, third class, I have 5 classes for SKM. I'll do the questions with you. Okay, but understand this because in IIT it's theoretical. Okay, so now what I'm going to talk about is simply how does economy move along this line. So initially you are at full employment, you are at this point, let's call this point A. Okay, Then for some reason, animal spirits say people thought, nahi, economy acha nahi hai, economy acha nahi hai, investment starts falling, people stop investing, investment falls. So then how will you move to another equilibrium point? So what will happen is initially we're at this point, then investment falls. So what happens is investment level is lesser. This is the investment level. Consumption level is lesser, is the same, because consumption is a stable function. Investment is unstable. So investment falls, consumption is the same. So what will happen is there is this extra buildup of inventories. Okay, so extra buildup of inventories. There is more goods than what can be sold. Okay, the extra buildup of inventories, more goods than can be sold. And because of that, what producers do? They reduce the output that they produce. Okay, that's how the economy moves from one point to the other. It was at point A, then it moved to point B because there were extra inventories, goods were not being sold, investment demand had fallen, so they had to reduce their production. Okay, that's how the economy moves from point A to point B. Is this part clear? How does the economy move from point A to point B? Clear? All right. Okay. So how does the economy move? Because of the extra buildup of inventories. Satyam, I'll explain again. I'll do questions and all this, so don't worry about questions. Just listen right now. You are at point A. At point A, you are at full employment level. Let's say 900 is the full employment level. This 900 was divided into investment and consumption. Let's say full employment level of output was 900, out of which consumption and investment was there. So let's say consumption was 500 and investment was 400. Okay. Then because of animal spirits, bad economy, investment demand falls to 200. So investment falls to 200 only. Okay. So what will happen is you're initially at full employment, 900 is the output, investment demand falls. So what happens is for investment, you require only 200. For consumption, you require only 500. Okay. Initially, you were producing 900. So what will happen is there will be 200 extra inventory stock. स्टॉक बच जाएगा आपके पास, लोग बेच नहीं पाएंगे. तो जब स्टॉक बचता है क्या करते हो, आप प्रोडक्शन को कम कर देते हो. That's how you move from one point to the other. So change in income, change in investment led to a fall in income. Okay. Everyone, did you see that? If there is a fall in investment, it leads to a fall in income. And I also want you to notice that an X fall in investment leads to a larger fall in income. An X amount of fall in investment leads to a larger fall in income. Okay, ऐसा नहीं हुआ कि जितना investment fall होगा उतना ही income fall होगा. नहीं. One particular amount of fall in income leads to a larger in investment leads to a larger fall in income. Okay, and other way around also. If investment increases by 200, income will increase by more than 200. Okay, so you see even by the graph that is visible. So next class we will focus on this part that is called the multiplier process. So let me start with the multiplier process for you, because some homework you will get, and in that it will be easier if you know this. So we can actually always do it very simply from this only. So we already know that y is equal to a plus I bar upon 1 minus b. We already derived this. Okay. So now if investment, there's a change. If you want to see the change in y, with the change in investment, okay, upon 1 minus b. So what do we want to see? We want to see the impact of change in y due to the change in investment. Okay. So now change in y is equal to a by, so there is, okay, this is actually, a wrong way of doing it. We have, I'll show you the differentiation way. Okay, so I didn't write that completely properly. So y is equal to, let's say, c plus I bar at equilibrium. So you have y is equal to a plus by plus I bar, right? All right. Now there's a change in I. Okay, so it's a little bit of differentiation. Okay, there's a change in I. Okay, so I will change. Okay. That change in investment will lead to change in income, right? So investment curve will fall down, income will rise. So Y will change. Okay. So now when I totally differentiate this line, okay, when I totally differentiate it, so this will be change in Y is equal to, there is no change in A. Okay, so I can write this as I can remove this term. Only the terms which have some change will I keep here. The terms which don't have any change, I will not keep here. So change, Y will change, so change in Y. A will not change, so no change. B is not changing, but Y is changing, so change in Y. Plus, and I bar is changing, so change in I. Those who know differentiation, this is just differentiation, basic differentiation. Those who don't know it, also you are just changing everything, and those things which are constant and not changing, we are just removing them from the equation. Those who are only changing, do we keep? So I and Y are the only two things that change. So in this equation, I have only Y and I. Okay. So this is 1 minus B, change in Y is equal to change in I. So change in Y is equal to change in I upon 1 minus B. So for example, if B is equal to half, that means change in Y is equal to half, sorry, not half, change in I upon 1 minus half, which is equal to change in I upon half, which is equal to 2 times change in I. So change in Y is equal to twice change in I, and this is called the multiplier process. That means if change in I is equal to 1, change in Y will be equal to 2. So 1 change in I led to 2 change in income. 1 unit increase in investment leads to 2 units increase in income. This is called the multiplier process. Okay. And I'm going to do this in more detail, greater detail in the next class. We are going to do lots of multipliers. All right. Okay. So this is, I'm going to stop the class today, and now I'm going to open the floor for questions. Whatever I taught right now, whatever are your questions on that, please let me know, and I am going to be answering them. Okay. All right. So problems, some of you are asking, ma'am, problems. How do I do problems, or where do I practice? So in your student portal, in your EduSure student portal, you will find a document which says questions to be done after the first class. I will send a screenshot of that in the group, which document you have to see. And that is what you have to follow. So certain very basic questions I want you to solve after the first class based on this multiplier concept. And even if you don't do it, it's fine, because in the second class also I'm going to discuss this only. So you can do it after the second class also. Okay. But in the portal, there is a list of questions to do after the first class. Though I would, what I want you to do is, I will be uploading this video, just revise it once. Whatever I've taught today, make sure you have clarity on it. Okay. If you're clear on it, your second class will be easier. And in the second class, we'll do lots of questions. Okay. So don't worry about that. All right. Let me see if there are more questions. Is SKM still relevant in policy making in today's time? Not really, Ajinkya. It's a truncated model. I will share with you. We will do the updated versions of it. Yes, Shruti, it is already uploaded. Or I had given it to the team to upload. I'll just check. Okay, Nidhi is asking, why is the slope of consumption function less than 1? All right, Nidhi. So why will be the slope of consumption function less than 1? Let's see that. Because the slope of the consumption function is change in C by change in Y, and you can't change your consumption more than your change in income. That's why it is always less than 1. Which book to do for IIT Jam, Priyanka? See, there are many books actually. They all have their advantages, disadvantages. But I would say I like Mankiw, I like Freud, I like even Dornbusch. So either of these books are okay. And SKM actually, especially this topic, simple Keynesian model, is very, very simple. So any book is okay. A lot of you are asking, ma'am, what about these PPTs? I can't upload a PPT in the student portal, but I can upload a PDF. So I will upload a PDF of these PPTs. Okay, and you already have the notes in the portal. And this video will also be available to you. Any other questions? This multiplier effect practical example, Rohan. So that it's a very simple concept, Rohan. It's just trying to tell you that if you increase, so I did this example with investment, but you will see in the next class that any kind of change in autonomous component, which is, let's say, investment, government expenditure. Okay, that's the big one, which is going to come in the next class. Any change in government expenditure will increase income by a multiple. Okay, it will change income by a multiple. So if the government spends, let's say, 200 crores, income is going to increase by more than that. Okay, so it's just a way to understand the impact that the government policy has on income. Okay, but one thing I would like to add, this is just knowledge discussion. I really think that, when government spends, let's say, 200 crores, it depends on what it spends it on. Okay. For example, some governments, there's a lot of this talk about in the political scenario that a lot of governments are buying votes by just giving freebies to the constituents. Okay. Gas दे दिया, चूल्हा दे दिया, ration. It will increase government expenditure, obviously, but it will increase income also. But I think it really depends on what you are spending it on. If you're just giving it one time, that's just one expense. That's not anything back. If you save money on something which is productive, it gives you back, in a much larger level. So the consumption investment mix also, is the government really spending on building roads? Is it creating a new highway? Is it creating a new metro line? Is it laying railway tracks? Is it trying to build infrastructure for this economy? Is it maybe they're providing free Wi-Fi to the villages? Maybe they're providing roads. Maybe they're starting a new airport. Are they doing this, or are they spending on consumption goods? So it also depends on what you're spending it on, but it shows that government expenditure has a multiple. That's the meaning. Shruti is asking, why the investment function unstable? It is unstable in this case, where investment is not dependent on anything else, but it's just there. So it's just dependent on your expectations. Like I said, in the housing market of the US, what were the expectations? House prices will go up every time. Okay, so everybody was just buying houses, right? That's why it's unstable. It can change rapidly. Basically, that's the meaning of unstable. So Rohan, not in this case, not in the model that we are doing. In this case, the impact of investment function is always going to be positive, and it's always going to have a multiplier. All right, Shruti, I'll check it and I'll upload it if it's not there. Right? Okay, I'll let you know. In case it's there also, I'll let you know where it is. Okay, everyone, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed the class. Please do give me feedback in the chat box if you liked it, if you did not like it, if there's something I can do to make sure that everyone understands everything that I do. Please do let me know, and I'm going to see you all tomorrow. All right, thank you. Thank you.